How much time? 30? 30 seconds. I'm on right now. I don't believe you. What?
You're a total bloody shambles. And if we're going to win this war, someone is going to have to turn you into soldiers. And that someone, ladies and gentlemen, is me! I'm watching you, Gandhi.
Muchachos, happy Wet You Whistle Wednesday, that's the one. Welcome to another Brews at 10 on my left eye. I'm your humble host Lefty. Let's brew this thing. More jumping in the chat. First of all, great to see you, and Doc Davies as well. And you've already voted in the poll. Awesome stuff, yeah. Check out the poll as you join us on stream. So after all of the arguments and whatnot within the Your Party conference, they did have a vote that led to collective leadership. It was quite a close result actually, as we discussed last night. But what would you have preferred? It's for the birds really, because it's all done and dusted. It will be collective leadership. But I'll come back to why I've asked this question in particular, because I do have some other questions regarding your party, which is going to be one of the features of tonight's stream. There's an unsure as well, so say you aye, nay or unsure, or not sure as it says literally. Please cast your votes. And make sure you've hit the like button, of course. It's routine. Customarily hit the like button and give us a share around your social media as well, please, people. Just warm up for a few moments here. Greet new arrivals in the chat. Wet Your Whistle Wednesday, of course, comes with PMQs, which itself, of course, comes with Keith's Catchphrases here on my left eye. we did the budget special sort of thing last week. I'm sure the budget will come up a lot again this week, even though I've not seen it. Just to remind you, it's a first time reaction, a first look for me. But I did say that we'd revert back to the winner stays on format, as we had to stick with the league for however long a season it'll be. Just on government and parliament, of course, this is a mostly purely political channel from a left-wing perspective, but of course we'll be talking about one story in particular. The star of House of Commons cutaway shots himself, Wes Streeting, and Keir Starmer, actually, apparently have both been caught out. He is leader after all. Doesn't he know what his cabinet's up to? We had a bit of a look at that yesterday, and now he's got the nous to come out and criticise striking doctors and nurses. So a bit of a look at that. After PMQs, I think we're going to take a look at the latest poll as well, one of the latest polls, just to see where public opinion is at, and then maybe a bit more about your party stuff. But I do have something pretty important to show you as well, please. If it please you people, I should say. But rather unsettling where the climate's concerned. There's actually been a better conference or summit recently, so we're going to take a look at some clips from... Oh, sorry, tap the microphone there. Going to take a look at the National Emergency Briefing. Some great speakers there, including some you'll already be familiar with, such as Chris Packham. I'm sure is a very familiar name to most or all of you. Kevin Anderson, who I've quoted and shown a few clips of previously on the channel. Plus a whole myriad of other representatives. But the latest on the science, including social science, isn't too pleasant, unfortunately. So we are going to be doing a bit of doomy stuff as well, but I do have a more light-hearted story to discuss after that, so I can't say what it concerns because it will give it away. So it's not just us sitting here listening to clips of people telling us how we're all going to die after PMQs, of course, but there is some merriment to come, don't worry. JK joining us also in the chat. How you brewing? Solidari-Tea. Very early stages of voting in the poll at the moment, but the majority of you on the fence over this one at the moment. You're not certain. Maybe you're waiting to see how it pans out a little. Can collective leadership work? Discuss that topic plus more after Keith's catchphrases. No spoilers, by the way, people, for anybody who's seen it. And we will be reverting back to the previous running champion, who was, of course, Postman Twat with Deliver, but more about that shortly. The time has come, though, to say thanks to all the members on the channel. Thank you very much. We're currently resting on precisely 100 the century, so we have a century of awesome supporters here. Every credit to you. Thanks a lot for your support, members new and old. Well, the channel isn't particularly old. And other ways you can support the channel are with super chats if you're watching live. Super thanks if you're watching that later on. There's a Buy Me a Coffee page, so check out the link for that in the description. And thanks a lot for your support as always. Marvellous members, the Brew crew. And it's just 99p. If you want to join that list of people, there's various perks. Check them out. Hit the join button. See what's happening. Get with the latest revolutionary, I don't know, what's the terminology or adjective I'm looking for? Online movement. Of course, I, your humble host, I'm a campaigner, protester, and non-violent direct action participant. That is of the political and environmental protester variety, but it's great to see our community growing. Seriously. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Opening comedy clip. Incoming in just one moment. Community, yes, community spirit as well. Nice one there, Mo. Go and check out Mo's channel as well. Always happy to give a shout out to viewers' channels and other quality content available to you here on YouTube. It's the second biggest platform in the world, you know. And still most of you uncertain in the poll. Interesting. Yesterday, the majority of people who voted thought that the conference itself overall went well after the absolute bloody shambles of a start to the conference. And intermittently throughout other sections. Talk more about your party later. One thing I will say, though, at this stage, because I've been mulling this over for the last few days, of course. How did a lot of this happen inside, you know, people, delegates, speakers and so forth? Not the speakers, but yeah, people chosen to speak in the debates. And the chair often cutting them off and whatnot. But a lot of these people have felt politically homeless for a long time and had their own frustrations. As we saw, there was a lot of people getting on stage and they were literally supposed to make the case for whatever the vote was, whatever amendment it was, and would go off on a rant about their own sort of personal passions, political passions, whether it's disabled people's rights, trans rights, taking on fascism. The chair had to interrupt, but you have to understand, is what I'm getting at, people. There's been a lot going on, and those people are very pent up, very frustrated with society. They do have a lot to say, and they sort of took the opportunity, whilst they had an audience, what they thought was a display of passion, because it was, obviously, but perhaps in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that's what held up proceedings a lot. But I do get it. I do get that a lot of people really do want this to work, and a lot of emotions going on, and people worried that if they don't get it right, then those things that they are passionate about will not get represented. But I think just overall, a few people maybe led astray or went astray from the programme, the agenda itself. But more on your party to come after PMQs, and we'll warm up with something light-hearted, of course, before we get into the farcical pantomime in the House of Commons. This is Jonathan Pye. Great character. Should re-emphasise character as well, by the way. Performed by Tom... Sorry, nearly forgot. I forgot his name then. But yeah, a character nonetheless. This is the latest from him. All about the budget. Go and subscribe and stuff. Jonathan Pye.
The OBR clarifying yesterday that Rachel Reeves did not, in fact, mislead the public over the state of the UK's finances. So whilst last week's budget may well not have technically been a breach of the manifesto, and she may not have misled the public to any significant degree, to many, it certainly feels like she did. She didn't raise income tax, though. She didn't! Fuck me! It's not like she dropped a quartine-sized bollock. She didn't raise income tax. She didn't! She extended the freeze on tax thresholds that the Tories brought in, which means if you get a pay rise, you might end up paying a bit more tax on that pay rise, which is a pain in the arse, but it's not a tax rise. Minimum wage is up. They've done a kind of vanilla wealth tax on people fortunate enough to own property that's worth over £2 million, which I have no problem with, because I don't own a property worth anywhere near £2 million, so I'm fine. And if I did, I think a couple extra grand a year wouldn't exactly make me have to start doing my weekly shop at a food bank. It was not a radical budget. It was just a tiny bit left-wing. Tax and spend. I'm a loony lefty. I'm up for tax and spend. An end to austerity. I'm okay with it. Ignorant prick that I am. And yet all I see in the right-wing press there is open disdain for those struggling financially. Benefits Britain. Benefits Street. Reducing child poverty is anti-business. Free school meals. Feed your own kids or don't have them, you lazy bastards. And then on the next page, I mean, you think people on universal credit are struggling? What about these families who will struggle to pay this new mansion tax? These people may be forced to cancel their HelloFresh subscription. They may be forced to put the annex up on Airbnb, all to pay for benefit scroungers. 40% of benefit recipients are in work. 3/4 of children in poverty are in working families. 15% of the UK are on some sort of benefits, while 16% of the UK claim the state pension. I'm just saying, lifting 300,000 to 500,000 children out of poverty. I'm fine with a bit of tax and spend. However, that doesn't hide the fact that... Can we just stop for a second and just try to understand why this government is so ball-crunchingly awful at everything they do? We don't really hate your budget.
It's because it's full of careerist neoliberals is probably the primary reason.
We just hate you. I know, 14 years of Tory chaos. Yes, they inherited a post-Brexit, post-COVID, post-trust, post-whatever. That doesn't make this Labour government any less awful. I voted for a bit of tax and spend. What else were they going to do? But I didn't vote for the end of trial by jury. I didn't vote for slashing foreign aid or doing next to nothing regarding social care reform or...
Well, you actually did. You actually did. And I'm talking to Jonathan, not Tom Walker, just to re-emphasise that. But let's say Jonathan Pye's position is the same as a lot of people who voted in the last election. But literally that is, those are, I should say, the kind of things that people did vote for because they voted for Lino. And we warned them what would happen. And alas, that's coming true. And perhaps even worse.
Morgan McSweeney buying the Prime Minister's suits, or a housing minister underpaying tax on her house, a homelessness minister making her tenants homeless, an anti-corruption minister given prison time for, you guessed it, corruption, or thinking man's Nosferatu, Peter Mandelson, becoming ambassador to the United States. What were you thinking? Well, only another 3 or 4 years of this shit, and they'll be out and we'll have Nigel Farage, along with his pals, Elon Musk, and the Kremlin, dictating policy, with Tommy Robinson as Home Secretary and Andrew Tate, the new US ambassador. And that might sound absurd, but at the rate this Labour government are going, it feels all but inevitable. Sir Keir Starmer there, facing his first Prime Minister's questions since last week's budget.
Tom Walker though with Jonathan Pye. We'll check him out. I think he just gonna give an extra plug. Because he had something about his tour at the end there. The End of the World according to Jonathan Pye. Book tickets at jonathanpye.com. If you want to check him out live, I've seen him live. Just as good, probably even better than he is on screen. A nice fellow as well. Had the pleasure of briefly meeting him. Yeah, that was here in Manchester. We better crack on with PMQs and Keith's catchphrases immediately, people, because we have a lot to pack into this evening's stream. So here we go.
Oh no!
We now come to Prime Minister's questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Deliver. Black hole.
Plan for change.
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 Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It's Keith's catchphrases. Well, it's both not Keith's catchphrase. As it says, the chat's don't have time to make all the adjustments. Keith's catchphrases. Very quickly, just to explain, we pit two phrases or words against one another and keep a score. There is a league. This is a fairly new league format that we've taken on. You can see some of the examples of the contenders there, including the current champion, Deliver, who's on a run of 3, I believe, and currently sitting top of the table. So we're going to take a look at the rules first before we see the current standings. We will in a moment when this decides to work. Just checking you can all still hear me. Brief issue with the broadcast software here, people. Just give me a very quick second. In the meantime, just make sure that you've hit thumbs up. Okay, one moment, people. And we are back. Thanks for the feedback, Doc. Yeah, the audio was coming through, but for some reason I couldn't open the window for the rules. But here we are. So, rule number 1: contending phrases must be spoken by Keir Starmer himself. It's a winner stays on format unless they've already played all the other contenders. Slight variations are allowed, for example past tense, pluralisation and so on. 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw and nothing for a loss. The season lasts until summer break 26 or Keith resigns, whichever comes first. It's the latter. All clear on the rules. Very quick look at the current standings on the top, just the top half of the table. You can see there, Postman Twats representing Deliver. It's played 3. That should say 1-3 actually. Apologies. Played 3, 1-3, not 2. With 20 mentions and 9 points currently at the top. 3 points ahead of Budget, who won't be featuring this evening. So the current table leader back in contention this evening, people. But who else do we have? We had a new contender last week, but we've got a classic encounter this week. And I was pretty disappointed. I thought Fixing, which was last week's challenger, I thought that would have come up quite a lot more than 0. No point looking at the bottom half of the table for now, so we'll just get into PMQs. Any questions about the rules, post them in the chat please. Don't bother if you're watching back later, I won't be able to.
This is dreadful.
Won't be able to respond to them. Okay, so you can see there, we're going to have a classic encounter this evening. Deliver versus Change. Change yet to appear in the league, so we'll see how they get on. It's from the old format days, but first time it's been in the league. So I'm just going to play it safe because the equipment sort of misbehaved a little bit already. I've got a compressed version of this here. Just upload this one moment. Reminder, please, no spoilers. If you've already seen the session and you're with us live in chat. I think we're good to go. Are we ready, people? Let's just bring up the contenders. All set, let battle commence. Let's go over to the man with sponges for lips, a wet flannel for a tongue. Lindsay Hoyle.
Before we come to Prime Minister's questions, may I extend a warm welcome to the President of the Parliament of Montenegro and his delegation who are in the gallery today. We now come to Prime Minister's questions. Number one goes to Ian Lavery. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, our budget took important measures to tackle the cost of living. That's why we've frozen rail fares, prescription charges and cut energy bills for every family by £150. Today, Mr. Speaker, we're going further. For too long, parents have been pushed into spending more on infant formula than needed, told they're paying for better quality and left hundreds of pounds out of pocket. I can announce today that we're changing that. We will take action to give parents and carers the confidence to access infant formula at more affordable prices, with clearer guidance for retailers and helping new parents use loyalty points and vouchers. Together, Mr. Speaker, that will save them up to £500 before their child's first birthday. That builds on our action to lift 500,000 children out of poverty and breakfast clubs. And our
just get on with the routine
strategy will be published later this week.
Duties,
this morning,
sausages.
I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The North East is still
here we go.
picking up the pieces of the destruction and decimation of 14 years of Tory government. Men in the North East of England.
I think we have someone else from the North East in the chat as well. Moisha on Sourced. There you are. Right, that was very well timed appearance for your comment in the chat. I hope you don't mind the accent, you know. Bad mood for the whole day.
Still expect to live 10 years less than people in other parts of the country. Women in the northeast of England are making, on average, more than £11,000 in wage than people in other parts of the country. 33% of kids in my patch in Blythe and Ashington are living in poverty. The unemployment rates are above the national average, and the national wages are below the national average.
Yeah, because it's in one hand out the other with this budget. Of course, budget not contending this week.
You know, Mr. Speaker, the people in the North East are a proud breed and we deserve much more than this, mate. Can I ask the Prime Minister if he can assure me and the people in my constituency and in the North East if there's much to look forward to on the horizon? And will he meet with me to discuss how we can shape it?
Prime Minister.
He talks about poverty in his constituency and they heckle him. They should be ashamed. To tackle poverty, Mr. Speaker. We've abolished the two-child cap. That will be over 3...
You started the two-child cap. Oh, God. Since you took office, that doesn't put people in a better position. It puts them in the same position as they were. You took away the bad thing that you put there yourself. That could use a myriad of analogies, or sort of metaphors, I should say. Allegories for that. But come on, saying that that's a plus. What a lot of bollocks.
Bag of shite.
3,000 children, I think, in his constituency lifted out of poverty. I'm very proud to be able to do that. We've boosted the national minimum wage by £1,500. We're adding £150 that we're taking off everyone's energy bills. We're driving economic growth right across the country, devolving power and investing across all of the country.
Come to the Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Beno.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Here she goes. You've heard it once, you've heard it twice, you'll hear it 6 times. It's the same question, Kemi. Same question, Kemi.
And can I first of all pay tribute to Sir John Stanley, who passed away yesterday. Sir John was a dedicated MP for 41 years, and we send our deepest condolences to his family. Mr. Speaker, does the Prime Minister believe that when an organisation descends into total shambles, the person at the top should resign?
How many times did that? Cameron resigned. May resigned. Johnson resigned. Truss resigned. Sunak resigned.
Mr. Speaker, can I first join in her comments in relation to Sir John, and I'm sure I speak for the whole House in that respect.
Sorry, Sunak resigned and voted out. Well.
Mr. Speaker, I was very proud to lead this party at the budget last week, where the Chancellor set out that we would protect the NHS, which we've done in the budget, create the conditions for economic stability, not repeating the mistake of austerity, and bearing down on the cost of living by taking £150 off energy bills. We're fixing the mess that they left, and I'm very proud to be doing so.
Mr. Speaker, he doesn't want to answer a question about taking responsibility because he likes...
So he said fix there as well, but not once last week. Set up that, you know, these logos don't fall out the frigging sky, you know, Keith.
...to blame everyone else except himself, and so does the Chancellor. We now know that the head of the OBR was forced out for telling the truth that the Chancellor did not need to raise taxes on working people. We also know that the Chancellor was briefing the media, twisting the facts, also she could break her promises and raise taxes. Mr. Speaker.
So it's going to be a we want you to sack Rachel Reeves kind of line of questioning for the 5 remaining ones that she's got. And then, or maybe the last one will be about the Chagos Islands again.
If she was a CEO, she would have been fired, and she might even have been prosecuted for market abuse. That's why we've written to the Financial Conduct Authority. So will the Prime Minister ensure the Chancellor fully cooperates with any investigation?
Mr. Speaker, she's completely losing the plot. She clearly didn't read. May I pay tribute to Richard Hughes and his leadership of the OBR? He made very clear why he stepped down, and I've made very clear my support of the OBR. But she says take...
So that Rachel Reeves wouldn't have to. It's called kicking the can down the road. He's been past the buck, pretty much.
Responsibility. Under this Chancellor, Mr. Speaker, growth is up this year, defeating and beating the forecast. Wages are up, more since the general election than in 10 years of the Tories.
Your precious growth isn't as high as forecast. It won't be as high as forecast throughout this Parliament. That's something else that I think was it the ONS or the OBR said as well. Inflation, a very poor record on that. It's not great. But in the next sentence, we're talking about tough choices and why they have to make so many cuts on, you know, this economy is going really well. But we have to make cuts. Can't have it both ways.
We've had, I think, 5 interest rate cuts, NHS waiting lists are down, we've had record investment into this country. We're turning the page on their austerity and reckless experiment on borrowing. I'd compare that record to them every day of the week.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister talks about losing the plot. Let me read to him what his own cabinet members are saying, and I quote, "The handling of this budget has been a disaster from start to finish."
But apparently, it was what's in the budget has an influence on international stock markets and bond markets. That's the way it is. 45 minutes before it was announced, apparently, it was leaked. 45 minutes is a veritable eternity for the stock market, for short-term sellers. So, pretty irresponsible. But also, Rachel Reeves is also, what do you call it, not in the spotlight, but yes, she's under the cosh. We're talking about the budget in interviews before it was announced and not really painting a true picture of what was to come. So there's a dual responsibility, but at the end of the day, it's OBR who've had to take the blame, had to take the brunt for this. Rachel Reeves' career goes on. I'd like to know what Rachel Reeves might have to do for her to be forced to resign at this point. And it's one of those occasions where it's strange to be in alignment with Kemi Badenoch. And it'll be anyone but the MPs that go. It's the same old story, of course. More recently, we've seen it with heads of BBC departments as well, over issues including the Panorama Trump thing, other issues. Kind of ties in with that too.
Who said that? Was it him? Was it her? In fact, I think it was probably her, actually. It was probably the Chancellor. In fact, Mr. Speaker, one of his ministers said the Chancellor and Prime Minister look weak and incompetent. The country agrees. We know that there were endless Treasury briefings to justify raising taxes on hard-working people to pay for benefits. And those briefings had real-world consequences. Hundreds of thousands of people drew down their pension, an irreversible act. So the Prime Minister pays tribute to the head of the OBR. If the head of the OBR had to resign over market-sensitive leaks...
Yeah, thanks for saving Rachel Reeves' skin. You took one for the team there, pal. Go capitalism.
Why is the Chancellor still in her job?
Mr. Speaker, last year they left us with a £22 billion black hole. This year, at the beginning of the process, the OBR did a productivity review on their record in office, and that cost an additional £16 billion that we had to find in the budget. But notwithstanding that, Mr. Speaker, we protected the NHS waiting time.
This is the guy who promised $100 billion to Ukraine. Just sitting on, 100, nothing, it's nothing. It's only about, 5% of GDP.
Coming down. Notwithstanding that, we got cutting borrowing at the...
It's not all at once, of course, the 100 billion.
Fastest rate in the G7. Notwithstanding that, we've got £150 off energy bills. That's added to rail bills and prescription as well.
Order. Mr. Holden, your voice carries more than mine. The difference is yours will be carrying outside, not in the chamber. Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what she doesn't understand that picking up a £16 billion tab for their failure is not a good starting point for any budget. And the OBR said yesterday, Mr. Speaker, that the Chancellor's speech was not misleading. So if the Leader of the Opposition had any decency, she'd get up now and apologise.
Yeah, because you're going to step down and you're going to absolutely admonish any blame directed towards the Chancellor. That was probably instructed to them by some agents or other. But that's what taking one for the team constitutes. So, first of all, it's got to put Reeves in the clear. That's the paramount condition.
Mr. Speaker.
You might be enjoying a cup of tea with Mr. Holden if you carry on.
Mr. Speaker, no one believes a word that the Prime Minister says. We now know the black hole was fake, her book was fake, her CV was fake, even her chest claims are made up. She doesn't belong in the Treasury, she belongs in La La Land. They raised taxes on working people, that's £16 billion, was to increase benefits to protect them from their backbenchers. He now boasts about...
This whole working people, working class thing. They want to mean working class, but they say working people. Technically, Keir Starmer's a working person. Kemi Badenoch's a working person, but these are the top 5% of earners in the UK. Working people. Can't remember the channel, but another YouTuber did a thing about a billionaire describing themselves as a working person. But when you're talking about working class, of course, it's people who wouldn't be able to survive, let alone thrive, for a couple of months or so if they stop getting the paychecks. And there's a lot of other things to consider where the working class is concerned. But when they say working people, you should always be wary of that. Attempts at misdirection.
Removing the two-child benefit cap, but he used to say that it was unaffordable. He even removed the whip from 7 of them for wanting the same thing. He is very happy to throw them under a bus when it pleases him. So I asked the Prime Minister, how did it suddenly become affordable at the very time he needed to save his own skin?
Mr. Speaker, the vast majority of families we helped in the budget are in work. Yes. 3/4 of children in poverty are in working families. Their policy of nearly 10 years on the two-child benefit cap had one result and one result only. It dragged hundreds of thousands of children into poverty. They should be utterly ashamed of that. And I'm very proud that we're lifting 500,000 children out of poverty, because I profoundly believe that every child should have a chance in life. Every child should be able to go as far as their talent will take them. So that's why we're lifting 500,000 out of poverty. But they're the same old Tories, the party of child poverty.
If all of this is true, why did he take the whip away from the people who are asking for it? Let's remind
if poverty was a candidate this evening, they'd be soaring ahead by now.
December 2024, the Chancellor said, we will never have to repeat a budget like this one. If only. He may have taken the whip away, but the rebels had the last laugh. The Prime Minister has lost. He can't run his own party. He can't, let alone the country, Mr. Speaker. Let me quote what the hard-left former Shadow Chancellor said. He said, we've won. He's right, isn't he?
Prime Minister.
Speaker, I've said repeatedly that bringing down child poverty is a moral mission, a political mission, and a personal mission. They drove hundreds of thousands of children in...
You introduced the two-child benefit cap. That will always have happened, whether you've rescinded that now. But you introduced it for whatever. Oh God, we care so much. We care so much. What a nonsense.
Pull the other one.
To poverty, who will pay the price for the rest of their lives for their failure. We're taking 500,000 of them out of poverty. Very proud to do so. That is good for children, it's good for the economy, and it's good for the NHS, who will have less of a burden on them. They should be ashamed of what they did on child poverty, and she should stand up and she should apologise.
Probably said poverty
Mr.
at least
Speaker,
15
let
times.
me tell the Prime Minister let me tell the Prime Minister, making the whole country poorer and destroying jobs is not how you keep children out of poverty. In the past week, we've seen broken promises, broken leadership, and a broken budget for Benefit Street. A broken budget for Benefit Street. The Education Secretary is chuntering. Where is the money for the children on special educational needs? Where is it? Where is it? Unemployment is up. Unemployment is up. It's coming out of her budget. It's coming out of her budget. She's shaking her head. She doesn't know where that money is coming from. But let's be clear, Mr. Speaker. Unemployment is up. There are more children now growing up in workless households because people are losing their jobs. It's not just the head of the OBR who's losing his job. Millions of people have been hung out to dry by their budget. And isn't the truth...
There were probably, teachers, nurses, all the other things that you cut in your decade and a half in charge of your party. That is not Kemi Badenoch, who is now in charge of this absolute bloody shambles.
You're a total bloody shambles!
Mr. Speaker, that behind it all is a Prime Minister who only cares about one person's job, his own.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, she wants to put 500,000 children back into poverty. She thinks the Chancellor should resign because the
Poverty.
economy is improving. We are turning the page on their failure. We are bringing waiting lists down. We're bringing stability that cuts inflation and interest rates. And we're bringing down bills. We're building a brighter future.
Bahama.
Conversations about a new Ireland are deepening, with people from all sorts of backgrounds having serious, hopeful discussions about building something new. Yesterday here in Westminster, along with the member for South Antrim, who has a different view to me, we hosted two of the island's
Gussie Johnson, he's got a new bridge. Do you remember that idea?
While both positions were argued, clear voice was at the time for careful preparation is now. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that while there is much work to do before any referendum, that to avoid a mess like Brexit, it is prudent and completely compatible with the Good Friday Agreement for the Irish and British governments to jointly prepare for constitutional change?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for her question? One of the greatest achievements of the last Labour government was the Belfast Good Friday.
We don't have a written constitution is the sort of first hurdle where that proposal's concerned. We, as a country, don't have a written constitution. It's all words. It's all imagery, and in the air.
Agreement, and we fully support that agreement, which brought peace and stability for Northern Ireland. It does, as she well knows, set out a process for future decisions, which under the agreement I support. And we are focused in working constructively with the Executive and others on all issues, including the record settlement under the budget for Northern Ireland.
The Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I join the Leader of the Opposition in paying tribute to Sir John Stanley and sending our condolences to his family? I had the huge pleasure of working with him over a number of years on developing the relationship between our country and Korea, and he was always a true gentleman. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I was in Royal Tunbridge Wells, where tens of thousands of people have had no water for 5 days. This is now a public health emergency.
Yeah, residents have been told that for the next 10 days they've got to boil the water, and I've heard some of the descriptions made of what's coming out of the taps, and it's absolutely repugnant. How can this happen? I've pointed this out many times as a classic example of where capitalism fails. They can't cheaply or freely provide the population with something that's constantly, almost in certain places, falls out of the king's sky.
And shockingly, it's the second time in just 3 years when South East Water have let down the people of Tunbridge Wells badly.
And also, deregulation on pollution, of course, comes into that, because rivers, streams, everything. They are literally full of crap.
Parents are queuing up for bottled water for their kids. Pensioners are relying on neighbours to fetch some water for them. Businesses have closed down. Schools and GPs have been forced to shut. South East Water said it would be sorted on Monday, then yesterday, and today it still hasn't been sorted.
But actually, if you think this is bad, I beg you prepare yourselves for what's coming later when we do have that climate update.
So will the Prime Minister convene COBRA? Does he agree that it's time for him to get a grip of this crisis so it is sorted?
Well, can I thank him for raising this really important issue? And it is shocking for all the reasons he's set out. And I too have heard South East Water say, as he rightly says, actually Sunday into Monday, Monday into Tuesday, and Tuesday into Wednesday, that they were sorting it, and they still haven't sorted, and there's really serious consequences. And we are bearing down on that, as he would expect, because it's such a serious issue.
Sir Ed Davey.
Prime Minister's reply and the actions of the Water Minister, but I do think the government will need to do more because South East Water have failed so badly. If I can turn to the budget now.
Got more bad news for South East England for anybody who's watching live from there later as well, unfortunately.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's chief economic advisor has recommended a customs union with the EU as one of the most effective ways of generating growth, and we agree. So instead of hitting people with higher taxes in the middle of a cost of living crisis, will the Prime Minister change course in economic policy and listen to the piece of wise economic advice from his own economics advisor?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we are getting closer relationships with the EU.
I'd imagine Starmer's economics advisor is just somebody who runs face forward into a wall and then backs up and does it again repeatedly before writing ideas down.
On a number of fronts, including trade and the economy, because that is good for businesses across our country, has been welcomed by them. We'll continue down that path, but we do have clear red lines in relation to the single market and the customs union. So within those constraints, we will move closer.
Dr. Becky Cooper.
Mr. Speaker, gambling addiction is a serious public health harm, causing ill health and misery for millions of people in this country. The industry now spends £2 billion a year on advertising, often targeting vulnerable people and exposing our children to harm. Along with many members across this House, I very much welcome the Chancellor's announcement last week to tax harmful online gambling products. Would the Prime Minister agree with me, therefore, that to continue this essential work, we must now act to tackle harmful gambling advertising to protect the health of our children?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank her for raising this, because she's right that harm from online gambling has surged. And, Mr. Speaker, NHS referrals are up 91% in the past year. The decisions we made in the budget mean investment in public services and lifting over 500,000 children out of poverty. But we are working with industry to ensure that adverts don't exacerbate harm. And through our £26 million investment...
It seems as though 500,000 children out of poverty is the new free school meals that we'll be hearing non-stop.
We're helping the Gambling Commission crack down on black market sites and illegal adverts to keep players safe.
Paul Holmes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In 2020, the Justice Secretary said criminal trials without juries are a bad idea. The Prime Minister himself said there should be a right to trial by jury in all criminal cases. Now they want to scrap them. Mr. Speaker, with a Chancellor who can't count and a Justice Secretary who's lost count of the number of people he's let out of prison, is it any wonder that the people of this
12,
country
actually,
can't
I think,
trust a single word this Prime Minister or government
pretty
says
appalling.
ever again?
Mr. Speaker, they left a broken criminal justice system where victims of rape and serious sexual violence...
They didn't let 12 people out whilst you're running the country, though, did they? And it pains me to defend them, but they've got you bang to rights, like I said yesterday. It's low-hanging fruit. It's open season. It's shooting fish in a barrel. Because if you're going to remove an 800-year-old civil right, a legal right, then what do you expect? And you yourself, the former Director of Public Prosecutions, and Lammy as well. Well, there's no other way to describe it. It's an affront. It's an absolute fucking affront.
This is dreadful.
Are waiting 3 or 4 years for trial. Only this week I've heard further examples of 14-year-old girls and 16-year-old girls having to give evidence 4 years after the allegation. That is not justice for them, and I'm determined that we will deal with it. Now, as he well knows, of all criminal cases going to court, 90% have always been in the magistrates' court. 90%. 10% go to the Crown Court. Of that 10%, 7% plead guilty. That means that 3% of all criminal cases go forward for a jury trial. Not all of our cases. We are making changes, sensible changes, to ensure that we can make sure that victims...
It's not... From within and without, there's not been a single person who's backed this. The only people who are shouting about it are Starmer and his cabinet, particularly Lammy at the moment. Everybody else says this won't work. It's not only mathematically wrong, it's completely immoral as well, and completely hypocritical in tandem with that, because this is something that Starmer has always said would exist, a right to a trial by jury, and should exist. Complete U-turn. Indefensible. Pun intended.
Get justice, and it's denied under the failure that they left.
Tom Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm really pleased to hear many constituents tell me how much local NHS services have improved since this Labour government entered office. But some, like Dave...
I bet there's not one. I bet there's not one. Probably to the contrary, she's inundated with emails of complaint. But, and we're back to the... Do you remember when we were under the Tories, some of them would say, oh yeah, people stop them in the street and say how much they like them and this and that policy. And I went into this local bakery and such and such. Typical, yes, very human interaction happened. No, don't buy that. They normally would quote people from an email if that had happened, and she's just, oh yeah, everybody's talking, everybody says so, it's Trumpian. Everybody's saying it.
David Wotton from Atherstone have faced long delays. He was told he'd have to wait 5 months for X-ray results from George Eliot Hospital, and he's not the only one. My constituents in North Warwickshire and Bedworth deserve better. Can the Prime Minister set out how he will go further and faster to get our NHS fighting fit again?
But shut up, Wesley. Prime
Minister. Can I start by saying I'm sorry to hear that David, her constituent, is waiting. We did take decisions at the budget to invest in the NHS and tackle waiting lists. And that is to help people like David. We delivered £29 billion extra investment into the NHS.
We have an equaliser
and
there.
scrapped NHS England to invest in the front line. We are opening, Mr. Speaker, 250 neighbourhood health centres to treat patients closer to home.
Game on.
And we've got over 5 million extra appointments being delivered. And waiting lists are down 230,000.
Wow.
They chunted. They
instant
absolutely
turnaround in the
destroyed
game.
our health service.
Finally, things are happening.
They should be ashamed of themselves.
Got a bit of action there. 2-1.
My constituent Claire, she runs
Very
Claire
quick
Jewellery in Fakenham.
response from
She's just
Postman
one
Swat.
of many small business owners who contacted me after the budget from last week. She was absolutely incensed by the style of the Chancellor, where she seemed to give
Incredible scenes in the House of Commons. Incredible.
businesses, when the exact opposite is the case. Claire's tax is going up on her shop, not coming down. So could the Prime Minister do Claire and many other shop owners the common courtesy of just admitting that their taxes are going up and not down?
Prime Minister. Minister.
He raises an important point. Let me address it. Because at the heart of this issue is that temporary business rate relief was put in during the pandemic by the last government. That was the right thing to do, and we supported it, but it was temporary relief. That is now coming to an end, and obviously there's a re-evaluation that goes with it. So what we're doing is permanently lowering the rates for leisure, retail and hospitality, but because of what the changes are, we're putting in transitional relief of £4 billion. That means there'll be a cap on increases for small businesses, and we're finding that by adjusting the burden between them and the online giants. But in the end, it's the temporary business rates coming to an end that we have to adjust through this policy.
Oliver Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That's the online giants who are still going to get the biggest tax subsidies, that's for sure.
Multiple sclerosis patient, and she joins us in the gallery today. Neurological conditions like MS or Parkinson's affect 1 in 6, but wait times for first and follow-up neurology appointments have increased by a huge 65% since 2020, risking delayed treatment and diagnosis at critical time. Now, I'm proud this government is bringing NHS waiting lists down, cutting emissions, investing in care and equipment. But will my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, formalise these efforts and support an NHS modern service framework for neurology and get these wait times down?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for his question and for sharing the personal interest that he has in this. We are focused on bringing down waiting lists and making sure every patient receives the best possible care. As he knows, the 10-year health plan announced a new modern service framework to help rapidly improve care. And I'll reassure
the clip hasn't been skipped back. It's deja vu all over again.
We're acting to improve neurology care and have cut wait time for care, neurology waiting times by over 15,000.
There he is.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Alison in Oxford is threatened with new service charges by her housing association, Green Square Accord. For shrubbery she happily cut herself for 22 years and a cleaning of a communal area that simply doesn't exist. Meanwhile, Rebecca's charges have more than doubled over the last 4 years with no explanation why. They are not the only provider doing this. It's a wild west out there. So will this government consider Liberal Democrat plans for a new regulator and a cap on these outrageous rip-off service charges?
Prime Minister.
Well, can I thank her for raising that? And we are implementing the Leasehold and Freehold Reform Act, which is long overdue, providing homeowners with greater rights, powers and protections. And through this, we will strengthen regulation to protect leaseholders from abuse and poor service, which she's highlighted, bring the injustice of leasehold to an end. That'll protect up to 1.75 million households and make sure leaseholders receive standardised service charge documentation, making it easier for them to challenge unreasonable bills, because the points she makes are good points, and this bill will help change that.
Graham Stringer.
Mr. Speaker, this country can be proud of its history of religious tolerance and religious freedom. The quid pro quo of that is the right to criticise religion. Can the Prime Minister ensure this House that there will be no introduction or reintroduction of a blasphemy law, either by statute, by judicial overreach, or by a non-statutory definition of Islamophobia?
Yes, I can give him that assurance, and it's important that I do so.
Lewis Cocking.
Mr. Speaker, the best form of welfare in this country should be a well-paid job. But with unemployment up, and this Labour government has chosen to raise taxes to spend more on an even bloated welfare and benefit system. Is the Prime Minister happy with the message that sends to my hard-working constituents in Broxbourne and constituents from right across the United Kingdom?
We have a broken welfare system. Who broke it? Guess. The party opposite. We're bringing in reforms to change it and mend it. And what did they do? They voted against them.
We'll have another equaliser.
And under their watch, they drove up welfare spending by £33 billion. So we need no lectures from them on welfare.
Mr. Speaker, as a lifelong Dale fan, I'm delighted that Rochdale Football Club are top of the National League right now. But after 14 years of Tory cuts, sadly, my town is near the top of another league table, a league table people don't want to be in, the child poverty league table. So does the Prime Minister agree that lifting 5,000 kids out of poverty in Rochdale, plus cutting the energy bills by 150 quid for every household, and crucially expanding the Warm Homes discount, will mean that this budget is a family budget that reduces the cost of living for everyone
Planted question
in the
alert. This is a planted question alert, people. Be aware. Be very aware.
Of course. Well, I say that because I know who's top of the Premier League, but it will be March and April we'll actually find out who wins.
No, well, you just jinxed it there, Keith. It's,
every household
yeah,
will see £150
just jinxed Arsenal. Sorry to any Arsenal fans, but he's done it.
Homes discount now to 6 million of the poorest households. They will also save an additional £150. Now, in the northwest, that benefits about 280,000 households. That's a huge cost of living support for families, alongside freezing prescription charges, rail fares, and boosting the minimum wage.
Liz Jarvis.
What does it work out at? About 12 quid a month, even if it does work out at what he's describing. Oh, here he comes. He saved us. Here's your 12 quid. Don't all thank me at once.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituent Tracy owns O'Brien's, a lovely cafe in the heart of Eastleigh. She works tirelessly to make it a success, but spiralling costs, including business rates, VAT and the hike to employers' national insurance contributions, mean she hasn't been able to take a salary for 4 months.
It was a planted question, Doc. And don't call me Shirley.
David, the owner of Steamtown Brewery, and Jane, the manager of the Holiday Inn in my constituency, say their businesses will be impacted by the government's stealth tax on our high streets. They feel let down. So will the Prime Minister look again at our call for an emergency cut on VAT for hospitality?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we put in place a strategy for small businesses, which was broadly welcomed by small businesses because they contributed to it. And that involves some of the key asks that they made of us, including late payment and for hospitality, greater flexibility when it comes to licensing. Of course, we'll always look at other measures that can help small businesses. We set out quite a lot of them in our small business strategy.
Andrew Pex.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At the weekend, I had the great privilege to join volunteers from Peterborough Food Bank at the Tesco in Warrington on their autumn food drive. I'd like to put on record my thanks to my constituents and those of other honourable members who supported this Trussell Trust.
More food banks than McDonald's.
One of the most
Go Britain, go!
challenges my food bank have consistently talked to me about is child poverty. And even though the party opposite oppose our plans, nearly 9,000 children will be lifted out of poverty across Peterborough because of the decisions our Chancellor took in the budget last week. Yeah. Does the Prime Minister agree with me? This isn't just the right thing to do for these children, it's an investment in our future and in our growth.
Yeah. Prime Minister. I thank him
talking
for
the books.
I was in his constituency just the other week, and we could see the impact that this measure would have on children. In Peterborough, as he says, 9,000 children living in poverty. In his constituency, 5,500 children living in poverty, and we are lifting them out of poverty, and that is the right thing to do. The party opposite shamefully dragged hundreds of thousands of children into poverty, and they will pay that price for the rest of their lives. They should be ashamed of themselves.
I was recently the target of an AI deepfake video.
There's not too long left in the session now. It's still to all. Everything to play for. High drama.
As reform moving from pub populism to a coherent programme for government. I'm delighted to reassure my Chief Whip and the House that I am and always have been a faithful Conservative. But does the Prime Minister agree with me that while satire has always been an important part of our politics, the rise of AI deepfake disruption is a serious threat to our democracy, and would he agree to work with me and cross-party MPs to frame some appropriate reforms as proposed by the recent Speakers' Conference to protect our democratic integrity?
Well, can I thank him for raising that? And it is an important issue. We do need to work cross-party where we can on deepfake, on AI and other issues that need to be addressed. I had, I'm afraid, missed his alleged defection to reform. I wouldn't have believed it if I had seen it. But I have to say, there's a lot of them going. There's 3...
Oh, yeah, another MP from the Tories went over to Reform, someone from the North West as well this week. Chris Green of Bolton West has defected as well. What a shit. So now the people who think that they're being defiant against the Tories by voting for Reform, even more so, actually voting for a party made up of Tories. You couldn't script it.
3 ex-MPs have gone, I think, this week. They talk about leaks. That's where their leaks are going, to Reform. And I saw a leak, talking of leaks, on the front page of the Financial Times this morning, where apparently the leader of Reform says he wants to merge with the party opposite and sit down here with them. An absolutely unholy alliance of austerity and failure.
Alison Blundell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week I've been speaking to Tetrasil, warehouse workers at Tetrasil in my constituency, who have been given an appalling ultimatum in the run-up to Christmas: either sign a new contract with reduced pay and breaks, or lose your jobs. Can the Prime Minister advise me what action can be taken?
Unionise and strike. Unionise and strike.
Who take action against workers and seek to exploit them and undermine their rights.
Well, can I thank you for raising this?
Revolt, en masse, unionise and strike. The solutions are there. It's easy. Power's yours. You have to reach out and take it, people.
And our thoughts are with the workers and their families who are facing the uncertainty that she has flagged. Our landmark employment.
What action can be taken against rogue employers like Tetrasil, who take action against workers and seek to exploit them and undermine their rights?
Well, can I thank her for raising this and for fighting hard for her constituents who are facing awful uncertainty, which is bad enough at any time of the year, is really bad at this time of the year. And our thoughts are with the workers and their families who are facing the uncertainty that she has flagged. Our landmark employment rights bill will strengthen workers' rights and put them in a better position, including ending unscrupulous fire and rehire practices. But I thank her for fighting for her constituents.
Shocker Adam.
Speaker, no religion, no theology, no philosophy is beyond critique or scrutiny, and we must protect freedom of speech at all costs. But Islamophobia is real. At least for Zainab Hussein in my city, who was running.
If you're thinking, oh goodness, that's where Jonathan Ashworth might normally be for some reason, that is indeed correct. This is the man who replaced Jonathan Ashworth, who still keeps getting wedged into mainstream media interviews, somehow, despite losing his seat to this Member of Parliament.
Over not just once, but twice, simply for being a Muslim. She survived. Not so lucky was Makram Ali, who was killed outside Finsbury Mosque, simply for being Muslim. Not so lucky was Muhammad Salim, who was stabbed to death simply for being a Muslim. I would like to ask the Prime Minister that in opposition, a definition of Islamophobia was adopted. In government, it has been dropped. Can I ask what's changed?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for raising those examples of hatred in his constituency, and he's right to raise them, and we should all condemn them. Hatred in all its forms should be condemned by all of us in this House, and that includes anti-Muslim hatred as well, and we intend to act on it.
Right. Please, Anna Dixon.
Well, he welcomed with open arms notorious Islamophobes, that is, the thugs, the so-called fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv, when they wanted to come over and criticised the club banning them. So, double standards, yet again.
Speaker, this week I met constituents Mike and Sue. Their autistic son, Jimmy, was imprisoned as a young man. The judge recommended a sentence of 2.5 years. Jimmy is now in his 40s. He's been in prison for nearly 20 years on an IPP sentence. Jimmy's doctors say he's safe and well for discharge. There's a supported living flat waiting for him in Chickley. Will the Prime Minister please help by ending the injustice of these IPP sentences and help get Jimmy home?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for raising this case? She raised it with me in the lobby last night, and it is a really shocking case. of 2 years, leading to someone being in prison already over 20 years and not yet released, and with delays in the release process. The Justice Secretary will look into this case and meet to discuss her concerns to see what more can be done. It's right that IPP sentence has been abolished, and we're committed to supporting the progression of all those who are serving such sentences.
Rachel Gilmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a charming elderly constituent who, after a series of very major medical interventions, has been left in excruciating, uncontrolled pain after her opioids were withdrawn, pushing her to suicidal ideations. Can the Prime Minister shed light on what plans His Majesty's Government has to help people manage pain, to live a happier and more comfortable life? And please, can I have a meeting with the appropriate Minister?
Prime Minister.
She sets
Can I
him
thank
up
her for raising
for a late
an
winner.
awful case? And we are putting in further...
Just 2 minutes also remaining now, people. Is it going to be a draw?
Protection and support, but I will take her up. I think it is important for her to discuss that with the relevant minister, because the case that she has referred to does sound appalling.
Jane Kirkham.
Sorry, Keith, you're going to have to... well, couldn't quite hear him. Over the necklace. You'll have to speak up. Can't hear you over this woman's necklace.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under this Labour government, NHS waiting lists are coming down. I welcome the commitment to refurbish Truro Health Park in my constituency, one of the first new neighbourhood health centres in the country. Cornwall's already leading the way with new neighbourhood health teams, and upgrading Truro Health Park will help deliver care for patients in their own communities. Will the Prime Minister confirm this investment reflects decisions taken by this government to prioritise community health care, and that services won't be removed before effective community replacements do come online?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank her for raising this. I'm delighted that her constituency will benefit from one of the new 250 centres. Neighbourhood health centres will provide simpler, more convenient access to a full range of health and care services on people's doorsteps, and GP services will be protected before it comes online. This is about early intervention, Mr. Speaker, continuing to drive down NHS waiting lists and creating a more modern NHS that is fit for the future.
Bernard Jones.
Mr. Speaker, could the Prime Minister give his assessment of the latest news that President Putin has again turned down terms for peace in Ukraine, and in the light of his extraordinary outburst designed to destabilise our understanding of the truth? He did say Russia is ready for war with NATO. How ready are we?
Prime Minister.
Like, not. We've got our arses handed to us. But one-on-one. On what scale are we talking about here?
Can I thank him for raising this?
This could be the final question.
And I updated the House last week on the attempts to get a lasting peace. We all know that Putin is the aggressor here. We all know that Putin is dragging his feet, not wanting to come to the table, not wanting to reach an agreement. We have to continue to put pressure on in every conceivable way. That is in supporting Ukraine with capability and resource, but also ensuring that our sanctions, acting with allies, do as much damage to the economy in Russia as we can, and pressure that we can put on. We'll continue to do so, but he's absolutely right to raise it, and I thank him for doing so.
That completes Prime Minister's questions.
So it's all over, and it is a draw, people, which means that both candidates, contenders, I should say, well, it's all politics. Both contenders will be replaced next week, so Postman Swat has evenly met his match on this occasion. High drama. There you have it. What did you make of that session? Let us know in chat or in the comments if you watch back later on. We'll hastily end proceedings for Keith's catchphrases and then have to get on to another few stories before I scare the shit out of you with how we're all doomed, of course. which I'm sure you're all looking forward to. Just need to make a few adjustments. Okay. First up, you saw the good old traditional cutaway shots of West Streeting anytime the NHS came up. Let's see what's happening with this tidbit of news concerning the introduction of booking GP appointments online, and he's referred to critics as morning minis. Morning minis. Should be back now. A bit of Wheel of Doom. All should be well.
As you can see, we're experiencing a minor technical difficulty here on my left eye. Our team of expertly trained technicians are working busily to restore the stream. In the meantime, please make sure that you've hit the thumbs up button harder than you'd like to hit Keir Starmer in the Ghoulies, and left a comment down below. Thank you.
Well done, team. Give them an extra dose of that mashed up stuff that they like for supper, Phil. That is our Primates IT team that we've got here on the channel. Right, back to that article. Just very quickly on this. The phrase morning minis. It is very much a Alexander Boris de Faffel Johnson kind of comment. Agree with that one more. Yeah, it's like something your grandma might come up with. What's all the fuss about? It's the option of booking online for non-urgent appointments. But the BMA suggests patients could be put at risk and overwhelmed by demand. Yeah, it's a lot easier to overwhelm online servers. So it's all about the morning rush for appointments. But morning minis. Just wanted to focus on that. Phrase, morning minis. Bunch of moaning minis. Oh, Wesley. But we will move on to this. After PMQs, let's take a very quick look at the latest polling. I think the last one we took a look at was one that had the Green Party in second place with 77 seats. Was it? This one's slightly different. Oh yeah, Streeting's got to go. Ilford North. He just scrapes it by 500 seats. Liam Mohammed would be his challenger, and she's quite ahead in the polls at the moment. We're going to take a look at a national poll though. Very quickly, this is another one from Stats for Lefties. But they do collate polls, they don't conduct them, so we'll mention which one this is from, if it's YouGov, or find out now what's not when it decides to load. Just the net running a bit slow there, so it still has Reform in the lead by 9%. The Tories and Labour even on 21%. The Tories actually gaining 2 points there. Then Lib Dem with 13, so a bit of a drop off there as well. Not too far behind with 11%. The Greens gaining 1, so how would that translate to seats? It's a more in common poll. It took place between the 28th of November and 1st of December, so rather fresh. But not so dramatic as other polls we've seen recently. Of course, it still has Reform with the more seats by quite a wide margin, but Labour dropping under 100 seats at 98. But we've seen worse. Where Labour are concerned, Lib Dem always seem to be hanging around second, third place at the moment across a multitude of polls, but they'll be gaining 8. Tories losing another 58 there. Independents and Workers' Party of Britain, again, doing well. Goes without saying, SNP, of course, retaking Scotland. That's prevalent across all the pollsters. You can more or less take that as a given. You can put that in the bank. But the Greens gaining 9 as well. This is sans your party, of course, still to be considered. Things might get interesting when that starts to happen. So let me know what you think about this latest poll. Just wanted to throw that stuff your way. Pretty quickly, won't go through the comments or whatever, so just a reminder as in terms of percentile, Reform on 30% with a 9-point lead over Labour.
You're a total bloody shambles!
Moving on to climate business in a moment. Said I would touch on your party matters. I guess I'll just throw a few sort of points or questions your way that have been on my mind for the last few days as well. Just a few of them. Because there's a lot to get into. It certainly was something. It certainly can't be seen as a boring affair by any means. You know, a lot of projects, parties, these kind of launches get off with a whimper. But overall, now that we know what's been voted on, I do have some further thoughts and questions to share with you. First of all, even though it was a very close vote indeed, the members at conference voted for collective leadership. Now, the question I'm going to pose is, as I'll give you the latest stat on this poll on the stream. At the moment, 44% of you aren't sure whether Jeremy Corbyn and or Zara Sultana should be leading your party. 31% think that they should, and 25% think they shouldn't. So at the moment, the not sures have it. I don't know how the unlocking process goes there. You sort of put the key in, take it out again, and we could be here all evening. Okay, we'll find out when we get to the end of the poll. But my question is, after years of people calling for Jeremy Corbyn to start a party, after years of people saying, oh, wouldn't it be awesome if Zara Sultana became leader of Labour, and now say, wouldn't it be great if Zara Sultana became the leader of a party? Why would they collectively, but again, narrowly, it was, I think, the closest votes out of all of the amendments put forward. But I can't for the life of me think why they would vote against that. Was it about 55-45 or even narrower than that, the vote? And we went through quite a few statistics last night. I'm not sure if you noticed, I was rather tired whilst I was on the stream as well, but didn't absorb every exact statistic. If anybody does know, please do refresh my memory. But yeah, you know, we want a Corbyn-led party, we want a Sultana-led party. People were shouting that from the rooftops for years. I can't say that I wasn't party to that myself, in all honesty, on social media. I'm not a Your Party member, so I didn't have a say in this. I guess you've got to be in it to have a say, that's how it all goes. But unlike the Socialist Workers' Party, I kind of understood that I wouldn't be allowed to attend, based on the fact that I'm a member of another grassroots party. So I don't get it. And I know that we have Your Party members who are viewers. If you voted, I'd especially like to hear from you on this as well. It's a genuine curiosity. And I know that I do support Sortition, but where Sortition's concerned, I think that should be in other elements such as policy as opposed to leadership selection or voting. Yeah, that's the question I'd like to ask. I'll leave you with that one before I move on to another one. So obviously there was this massive outrage, Zara Sultana boycotting her own sort of party's conference on day one in solidarity with the Socialist Workers' Party. The veritable drama queens of the whole affair. If you want my 2 cents, I can't say I'm particularly impressed by that whole debacle. But it was all supposed to be in the name of openness where the party's concerned. And they said, well, Zara said, that's why she was carrying out the boycott, standing in solidarity with the Socialist Workers' Party, saying we should have dual membership, everyone should be involved, whatever, we have to be able to reach the masses. But hypothetically, okay, now, I guess you could say whoever's decision it was to exclude the SWP did it on reputation. Like they almost knew that they might show up and make a fuss, so to speak. But had that been someone from a far-right group, would that have been the same case? I'm not making a case for the far-right, I want to be very clear in this. But just on a hypothetical basis, let's say that some politically homeless far-right people showed up, former, I don't know, I know UKIP's to BNP or something, you know. We know that it's all the same thing, they just changed the letters. No, but seriously, had they rolled up and said, yeah, you know, we signed up and we've been paying our membership fees as well, or making the exact same argument that the SWP did, would Zara Sultana have been so enthusiastic to stand in solidarity with them? And I know I'm just putting this one out as a hypothetical, but this could cause problems, and here's one of them. The fight against reform has been mentioned many times by Corbyn and Sultana, the fight against fascism. You have to woo voters away. Whether you think the lead in the polls is overstated or not, you're going to have to win some votes back from reform, because apparently that's where people are projected to be voting the most. If they've signed up as reform members, then now they can also be part of your party, because dual membership's been voted in. But hypothetically, yeah. How would you handle that? That could be a problem that they might have overlooked, or maybe I'm just overthinking those kind of scenarios. But what do you think? Let me know in the chat, let me know in the comments if you watch back later on. Double check that you've hit the thumbs up button, please, people. Next question. I think I briefly brought this up yesterday, but now that we know that Corbyn or Sultana won't be the leaders, the great orators that they are, and we know how in the habit of jumping the gun on policy announcements Zara Sultana can be, for example, how are they now going to speak in public? How, you know, they can't announce policy prior to these votes, and it can't just be Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn who put forward proposals for policy. This is not the way that the voting swung. It's not to say that the policies won't be good. Again, that's an issue. And finally, I think, one that I've asked before quite a few times, but still rings true. Ever since it was announced that your party was formed, and both sides, that is, where your party and the Green Party are concerned, have said that they want to work together. I would like to know the definition of that. What does it mean? Are we going to see one candidate from either of those parties in each constituency, so as not to force people into a difficult choice as to which to go for? We don't have any sort of top-up voting system or preference-based voting system. You can't give first, second, third choice, whatever. And the first past the post ancient format that we've got here in the UK, but that is in England. Before you want to get into technicalities, I know there were a few of you maybe reaching for the keys there. But my point still stands. How's this going to work now? And we already know that there are clear differences on some pretty big issues. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. I want it to work, not just how they get along with the Greens. I want your party to work as it is a thing. I'd like to see the Greens continue to grow as well. I did check out some of the latest membership stats because I didn't know off the top of my head on last night's stream. Apparently, in the area of 60,000 now, your party. Zach Polanski heading towards 180. So, collectively, a pretty big force to be reckoned with. What do you say, people? if you've got any ideas for how you think they can best work together, the only one that I can currently think of is the one I've already mentioned, one candidate per party in each constituency. But if you can think of another route, another pathway to not an official coalition but an electoral partnership, then let me know. Can you dig it, people?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
I can dig it. I do dig your party. I'm glad it came along. I'm glad it's a thing. I have to admit, there were some very big cringy moments during the conference, but overall, I think I agree with most of the viewers of this channel who voted in the poll yesterday that overall things went well, because it has settled a few issues, a lot of topics, a lot of questions that were raised. We now know where we're at with your party officially, now that things have been voted on. Let's hope, fingers crossed, touch wood, not particularly superstitious myself, but whatever you do, clutch your lucky rabbit's foot, hope it's artificial. And this will come through. Just having a look at what you are saying already in the chat. People, it's always great to get your feedback here, live. You voted for your party to have a single leader, JK. You intended to vote for Jeremy for a few years before switching to Zara if she matured a bit more. Yeah, there are pros and cons to having either, I think. Jeremy, obviously, now should maybe not be leading a political party in his mid-70s. Zara Sultana, perhaps, in certain areas a bit too outlandish and brash. There's nothing wrong with passion, of course. But last weekend was a classic example of that. So I can certainly see where you're coming from with that. Had I been there as a member, perhaps voted the same way. Anything to keep reform out. Come re. Ah, see what you did there. Ah ha ha. Very good. Very good wordplay. Yeah, geography plays a big part in the choices that you have, of course, as well. For example, I know quite a few people who wouldn't mind, in the past, wouldn't have minded SNP being on the English ballot. Don't know how that would work. There you go. Well, I guess it's about parliamentary representation at the end of the day. Touch the lucky heather, yeah, that's another idea. You are superstitiously natured. Not that I am. Yeah, great comments coming in, people. Always like to see a lively chat. But I do have to move on to other issues on a pretty serious tone as well, people. Sorry, the background music down, it's that serious. I've put together a collection of clips from the National Emergency Briefing now. There was an analysis of these on a great climate channel that I follow called Just Have a Think, which you should check out. I'll put a link to the video that these clips are taken from specifically in the description of this stream. Post-stream, that is. They're not there for anybody who's watching live, but the channel comes highly recommended. I think Simon Clark, his channel came up recently as well. Definitely worth following. These are great YouTubers, people, especially for anybody who's into the climate as much as I am. Well, it should be everybody's number one concern. of course. But do like to keep up with the latest science, however terrifying it is. So I'm going to play the clips just back to back, really. I probably won't interject too much as the hour grows late. But you need to hear this, people. It might not be particularly comfortable. It's going to start off with a familiar face that I'm sure everybody will know, Chris Packham. But then following Chris Packham, a series of others started with someone I've brought up many times before on the channel, Kevin Anderson. Who has a channel called Climate Uncensored, so do go and check out his channel as well. He's a former UK government advisor as well as a former UN advisor. He knows his stuff. He used to direct the Tyndall Centre in Manchester, where this channel is based. Definitely someone worth following. And then other representatives from all kind of areas, including healthcare, defence, water, food scarcity. Generally, this is going to be a big old basket of things that are of paramount concern. There's no other way to put it. It's frankly terrifying. So do brace yourselves, people, because even I, you know, an environmental protester myself, and sociologist, as well as, you know, dabbling in other sciences, I'm truly shocked by the latest statistics. Not mentioned in this, appearing in this series of clips, but also definitely worth checking out. I should give a quick shout out to Professor Bill Maguire as well, author of Hothouse Earth. That's a great book. Mentioned him in some recent content also. Again, the top people in the field. Bill is Professor Emeritus at University College London. These aren't unpeer-reviewed tin hat nonsense trolls that we're talking about here, people. This is the creme de la creme of climatology. So please do check this out, like I said, starting with Chris Packham and then Kevin Anderson. And once it gets into Kevin, you will see the severity as well as the short amount of time that climate impact is going to happen within. And if it doesn't scare the living piss out of you, then I think you should check your pulse. Let's see what's happening. And more importantly, what's going to happen if we don't take action right now, people.
For those of you at the back, that looks like a pale blue dot.
Carl Sagan.
But that's us.
That's Chris Packham quoting Sagan.
That's our home. That's our one and only home. It's the only one we've got. It's where all of our species has lived and died. Everyone. Every single human. It's where we breathe. It's where we eat, we laugh, we cry, we love, we hate. And as far as we know, together with all the other wonderful life on Earth, we are the only known life forms in the universe. And we've got nowhere else to go. It's not thousands, it's not hundreds of thousands or millions of lives that are at risk. It's billions of lives that are at risk. We are one species.
Professor Kevin Anderson, who's also not a man known for mincing his words.
That's true. Definitely not known for mincing his words. The first time I saw Kevin Anderson speak was when I was actually hosting a talk where he was one of the main speakers, and I was totally taken aback. And this was at a time when he already knew what I considered to be a lot about the climate crisis, just how urgent it is. So I'll remind you people, brace yourselves, because he's going to demonstrate now, in plain and simple terms, why we have to not only act now, but yesterday, the action required should have happened years ago.
Measure the concentration of carbon dioxide in parts per million, and we look at that across the last, say, 800,000 years and compare that with today, we see a plot that looks like this. Now that has a variation in that of about 100 parts per million going up and down, basically related to the ice ages. If we then focus in on the last 10,000 years, and that's the time when human societies have really flourished, what we see then is a pathway that is much more stable in carbon dioxide. The variation has only been about 20 parts per million in that period of time. And so we've had a very stable temperature and a very stable climate during the flourishing of our societies. If we then look at the end of this, and so this is really where we began to burn fossil fuels, in about 1850-ish. And we were about 280 parts per million by volume at that particular time. And if we look at that where we are today, we're now at 424 parts per million, almost overnight. We've gone to these ridiculously high levels, and it's rising rapidly every.
Look at that. I mean, just look at it. It's practically vertical.
Every single year. The way the society is going at the moment, we're going to see a rise of about 2 degrees centigrade or so by the middle of this century. That's very hard to imagine that we're going to be any less than that. But there's now a small but very real risk that we could hit 4 degrees centigrade by the end of this century. Now, the prospects of 3 and 4 degrees centigrade of warming are absolutely dire. I mean, we cannot risk that at all. It is an extreme and unstable climate, far beyond any safe zone that has nurtured our civilization. And we're going to be seeing unprecedented societal and ecological collapse at these sorts of levels. We can see escalating geopolitical instability and rising military tensions. And there will be no real economy to talk about. There's no reduction in GDP. We'll be looking at systemic collapse.
By 2050, 1 in 4 properties, 8 million in England, will be at risk of flooding. And new research by my group shows that UK winter rainfall has increased by 10% since 1980 because of the fossil fuels we're putting into the atmosphere. Now, an extra 30 millimetres of rainfall each winter sounds really small, but across the UK, that's 7.3 billion cubic metres of extra water. It's the same as 3 million Olympic-sized swimming pools, with an effect on flooding. This trend is some 25 years ahead of global climate model predictions. The extreme heat of 19th of July 2022.
25 years ahead. 25 years ahead.
You'll remember that. Across the UK, records were shattered. Temperatures over 40 degrees were recorded for the first time. It caused around 3,000 excess deaths. In fact, heat waves in Europe are intensifying faster than anywhere in the world and much faster than climate models predict. UK fire services no longer have the resources to keep the public safe in extreme heat, and as heat waves get longer and hotter, fires will become more common. The Climate Change Committee's latest assessment is very clear. The UK is not adapting fast enough to a rapidly changing climate. The committee highlights 3 major gaps: weak governance, unclear responsibilities, and insufficient funding. It's sobering when you realise that this is the least extreme climate you will experience in your lifetime. Until we stop burning fossil fuels, extreme weather will continue to get worse.
If you're wondering what a tipping point is, you could just lean back on your chair to that balance point where you know that a small change is going to make a big difference to your state or your fate. There'll be a self-propelling change from one stable state of the system to another.
But it was Tim's explanation of the consequences of a collapsing AMOC that really gave pause for thought, especially for those of us living here in Western Europe.
In London, it's minus 20 degrees C and 3 frozen months of the year. And in Edinburgh, it's minus 30 degrees C and 5.5 frozen months of the year. And yet the summers will still be hotter than today because it's a 2.
So this is the ocean current, Atlantic Meridian, I think, ocean current. But on the course that we're heading, this is what we're in for. Because when that ocean current ceases to exist, ironically, after temperature rises, many parts of London could see these kind of, that is, average temperature rises. Look at this. Look, these are minuses. I don't know if you can see that clearly, but minus 19 in London, minus 20 in Amsterdam, 21 below in Brussels, minus 26.3 in Bern. And this would be annually. This would be very common. So if AMOC goes, then Europe goes.
Degrees warmer world, not a 1.4 degrees warmer world. And the simple version is it eliminates the possibility to grow crops in the UK. But that's possibly the least of our worries, because there'd be a major water security crisis. We calculate that there'd be not enough water from the winters to get through the summers in the southeast of England, where most of the people are, like us today. And then in the global context, this is a simple calculation of what passing this tipping point does for the viable areas for growing two major staple crops, wheat and maize worldwide, and they're reduced by more than a half. So it's a global food security crisis.
For generations, a stable climate has given us reliable harvests. But that era, as we've heard, is gone. One study in a top journal found that before climate change, a major corn harvest failure might happen once every 16 years. At 1.5 degrees of warming, that rises to once every 3 years. At 2 degrees, it's once every other year. The good news is that the research...
So that means it's going to be once every other year, at least.
Research is crystal clear on
So
what
we're
we
going
need
past
to
2
do.
degrees.
And, fortunately, it's healthier for us. We need a great food transformation.
Sorry, I'm snacking here.
Built on 4 main pillars: shifting to plant-rich diets, reducing food waste, improving production, and increasing climate resilience. Research from our team and many others across the UK show that healthy, sustainable diets can still include some meat and dairy, just far less of it. Now, I know this can be politically difficult to talk about, but we have to be straight with people about the choices ahead. Because if we don't lead this change on the front foot, we'll be forced into this change anyway as food shocks intensify and as animals are hit harder by climate change than the crops. And if we can...
Yep, good point there, and also a good point there in the chat from Graham. Economists aren't listening to climate scientists at all. Finance does come up in a few moments in this compilation of clips from the National Emergency Briefing, and a wide range of topics and impacts discussed, as you can already see. Yeah, good point there, Cymru.
We can be on the front foot. This is where the story becomes one of extraordinary opportunity. I talked before about threats to food supply, but this is how we can create climate resilience. We can use some of that spared land to grow more of the food we need here in the UK. It would cut over-reliance on imports, and you can feed many more people per hectare on a plant-rich diet.
In every transition, every industrial and agricultural revolution, new technologies replace the old, societies change, you get innovation and productivity leaps, and there are winners and losers, and the losers lobby the government. The investment the UK needs to make to stay on the CCC's balanced pathway is equivalent to about £4 billion a year. That's 0.2% of GDP. The majority of that investment would be paid by the private sector. With the right incentives and policy, they would cover 40 to 90% of what is needed. And the public sector share could be funded by national banks and asset-backed lending, where the economics stack up like they do here. Globally, wind is being built out 3 times the pace we thought it would be in 2015. Solar installations are 15 times faster than we thought they would be. EVs were expected to have 20% of the market in 2030. have hit that last year, and they're now expected to double market share by 2030.
And those are positive things. That's great. Obviously, those EVs will now be, there's the pay-per-mile tax that was in the UK budget. But being ahead of plan is where we need to be. We need to be so far ahead of schedule that we're out of sight. We need to go back in time. I think someone said we should have at least been taking action since the 80s. Yeah, historically, it was pretty much confirmed, ironically, by oil companies' own research themselves, ExxonMobil, in the 1970s, that CO2 was causing temperature rises, and it was human-caused. 100%. They went through a lot of trouble to keep that buried for a very long time.
And because faster is cheaper, the cost of the whole UK transition is now 73% cheaper than we thought it would be just 5 years ago. Inflation would have been 7% lower if we had decarbonised the power sector ahead of Russia invading Ukraine.
It was actually originally predicted during the Industrial Revolution itself, if you want to get technical, because someone thought, surely look at all this stuff coming out of all these chimneys that reach as far as the eye can see. And I guess back then, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, people's granddads would have told them, when they were their age, all this around here was fields, and look at it now. But spewing all that stuff into the sky must come with consequences, and people did comment, did write about it, even back then. But when it was officially confirmed by research, was the one I just mentioned, the ExxonMobil, but people have had their suspicions for centuries now. Get with it.
It would have been a further 9% lower if our food system wasn't linked to fossil fuels through fertiliser prices, which went up 400% at that same time. And it would have been 11% lower if we'd have switched to heat pumps earlier.
We are facing a national emergency, not only because the climate is changing, but because the living systems that regulate that climate, protect our homes and feed our people, are breaking down here in one of the most nature-depleted nations on Earth. You know, recent analyses by the Green Finance Institute and others suggest that if we continue to degrade nature, nature-related risks could severely cut UK GDP in the coming decade, delivering a macroeconomic shock on the scale of major financial crises. So this is not an issue on the margins of policy. This is a national security issue. Without a living, healthy biosphere, there is no stable economy, no food, no water security, and no public health resilience. Luckily, we know what works, and the science points to the following. First of all, we need to consider nature as critical infrastructure. Second, we need to stop funding harm, and we need to reward restoration. Third, we need to redirect finance and measure what...
But that's a major problem, because whatever crisis it is, the first thing that capitalists think about is, well, how could we get rich off of whatever change in strategy that they implement? That's all that they can ever think about, and it's a major hurdle. We have to turn around to these people and say, sorry, but the gravy train stops here, because we've got a planet to save. So we're going to take your toys away now, and you're the perpetrators. You know, the very least that we could do to you is take your toys away. Unfortunately, you're not going to be selling the planet into non-existence anymore. Some obviously argue that some of them should be charged with gross negligence, manslaughter, sort of charges, corporate manslaughter, this sort of thing.
Actually matters to us. You know, the financial system is sleepwalking into risk, escalating risk. This isn't about choosing between the economy and the environment. It's about recognising that the economy is embedded within the environment and that the health of the nation depends on the living systems that sustain us and that we are part of.
I work in climate change, but I'm an NHS lifer. I'm a barefoot doctor working in a North London intensive care unit. And my day job is emergencies, whether it's global pandemics, or 7/7 events such as this, terrorist attacks, or the more mundane, the people who come in acutely unwell on any one of the days of the week. I know what an emergency looks like, and I know how you respond to an emergency. And you don't respond to emergencies with talk and homeopathy. You respond with genuine action. We've had an honest conversation. I am scared. I'm 63. I may not have that much longer left on the planet, but I'm scared for my own life and future, and I'm absolutely terrified for that of my son, and you should be too. Is this an emergency? It is an emergency. Now it is an emergency, and it requires treatment. This is no longer a risk. Without action, these impacts are certainties, and the hazards are catastrophic.
Well, he is James Holmes, fair comment there. Doesn't look 63, but he is a doctor. Maybe he probably looks after himself. I'm sure he was being a bit pessimistic about his longevity there, but I'm sure there's plenty of life in him and other 63-year-olds as well out there.
If we take action, we might survive to leave the hospital. If we do not, the outcome is absolutely certain. So I leave you with this thought. The climate emergency is a health emergency, and it's about time we started treating this one.
I spent over 35 years in the army serving...
Yeah, it's not being treated just before this is a Lieutenant General from the British Army. It's not being treated like the emergency that it is. And I think I've brought up this point once or twice before, but because it's not something that you can physically see so urgently, the way a pandemic, if you want to make that allegory, works out. If it was a lot more visibly impactful, and in the great film by Adam McKay, which I suggest you check out, and he's a great supporter of climate causes himself as well. Don't Look Up, the allegory of a meteor, is perhaps the best one. If it was something like that, it would be pretty different. But it isn't being treated like the emergency and with the urgency that it really, really has to. You can't overstate it, you can't stress it enough. The word need in bold capital letters. Now.
In, among other places, Northern Ireland, Iraq and Afghanistan. Even 5 to 10 years ago, if you'd raised climate change in the MOD, most people would nod politely, move on, with even a couple of top officials telling me, we're exempt climate change. But that has now changed. The MOD is now looking at environmental impacts with a T.
Yeah, well, we're not all made of self-sufficient bunkers funded with our money, by the way, are we? I know a lot of the... It's said that a lot of your multimillionaires and billionaires have these bunkers and whatnot. In fact, there's supposedly a market for them amongst the financially affluent, it's said.
Team working on climate security, energy self-sufficiency for our forces, and how they can adapt to a rapidly changing planet. Why? Because the threat picture is shifting faster than we expected and faster than we anticipated.
Now, we know Donald J. Trump is an idiot. We know that Keith Rodney Starmer is incompetent. But on a macro scale, whilst all eyes geopolitically where defence spending is concerned are on Europe and the Russia-Ukraine war, but all across Europe, as defence spending is raised, there could also be something else that's in politicians' minds where climate change is concerned, especially considering ice sheet. The disappearance of the ice sheets is what I was trying to say. Because obviously that opens up land that's been covered for a very long time, and let's say certain countries immediately should any what new unclaimed territory, you say, they'd certainly have an interest in that. So that comes into it as well with the defence spending.
Climate shocks fuel global instability. When farmers can no longer earn a living, they're recruited by non-state actors. And we saw this in Afghanistan, and we saw this with ISIS in Iraq. The Arctic is becoming a new flashpoint due to the climate crisis directly. You've heard how sea ice is receding and at 4 times the rate of the rest of the world. But let's put that into a
Yeah, because average temperatures at the extreme ends of the planet at both poles are actually around 7 times higher than other areas. The temperatures are rising 7 times higher than the rest of the world. If you need a reminder about one statistic that I don't think comes up in this series of clips, but the prospect of zero ice in Antarctica during summer as early as 2035 is what we are heading for at the moment. That's what we're on course for. Example.
Political perspective. The Russian Duma has claimed it's a Russian internal sea, whereas we treat the Arctic as international waters. So there's risk of conflict over access.
Oh, everyone has their ancient claims to it now. There's been, and obviously still as it exists. And the debates will rage, but unfortunately very violently, because again, we know they still won't get it, because they'll not only want the territory for geopolitical reasons, but also because they are laden with fossil fuels, and that's why America will want them for the same reason that they're targeting Venezuela at the moment, because Venezuela's got the biggest oil reserves in the world. This is currently protected by international law. They're not allowed to drill, but everyone is going to try and state the claim.
Over resources and, of course, over shipping routes. So the climate crisis is now shaping strategic and military competition. The encouraging part is that what we need to do on climate also makes Britain safer and more resilient. Take energy independence. Renewables, storage and a decentralised grid reduce our dependence on foreign oil and gas, and they're less vulnerable.
And that's how you do it. That's one of the solutions, one of the pathways. That's the latest state of affairs. I thought that was worth sharing, probably more than anything that happened at COP30. That is good to see some people who actually know what they're talking about up there. They didn't arrive by private jets. I'm pretty certain about that. And Chris Packham, very dedicated. They're all very dedicated in what they do. So from Kevin Anderson and, sorry, I can't remember everybody's names, but a good series of statements there. So I'll post that. Came from a Just Have a Think video, just as a reminder, a plug, to give credit to Just Have a Think. I'll post a link to that video on their channel in the description after the stream's ended. Fertiliser seems to be the main topic of debate in the chat at the moment. That's another interesting topic. Unfortunately, for another time. I can't delve into that matter myself because, as I said, we do have something more cheerful. Post-Doom. And if you haven't heard this, yeah. This is my favourite headline recently. With everything going on, it's good to be able to share one of these with you now and then. Away from climate, I guess away from politics or anything in general, but just something that might raise our spirits a bit. In lieu of having a second comedy clip to share with you. So where do I need to be here? Let's share the screen. A drunk raccoon found passed out on liquor store floor after breaking in. Or if you're from Yorkshire, liquor store floor. And look at this. This is my favourite one since the the one about, what was it? Was it the penguin? Was it the penguin that caused the plane to crash? It got loose, but now this drunken raccoon who's had a great night by the looks of it. Look at that. Oh, the CCTV must be priceless. Found passed out. Couldn't quite make it. Perhaps to go and pray to the porcelain gods. After, can you imagine? You know, you've never had a drink before, let alone being a raccoon. In Virginia, this was on Saturday. The masked bandit was found passed out in the bathroom or toilets, between the toilet itself and the bin. That's the trash can for our American viewers. Yeah, how do you sober up a raccoon? What's the general procedure? The County Animal Protection and Shelter. With took it in for questioning, apparently. But it is Thanksgiving in America, perhaps just celebrating. Yeah. It looks as though it fell through one of the ceiling tiles before going on a full-blown rampage, drinking everything. Come on, don't be ridiculous. And then drinking everything. Well, there are quite a few bottles there, but it won't take much to get a raccoon drunk. Apparently, I quite like the taste of the heavier stuff. But apparently it's just another day in the life of an animal control officer. Only blurry CCTV image of the boozy break-in exists, so it's unknown just how much alcohol the thirsty creature consumed before passing out in the bathroom. Well, if that one gets out, that's probably going to be your next YouTube viral clip. He's having a great time. Look at that guy. He'll be back. You know he will. Maybe when they see the CCTV, someone will pull up because he's ordered 4 pizzas and garlic bread. Good story, that. Something more cheerful to see us towards the back end of the show, but I want to give another shout out to all the members. As I go searching for a raid. Please do stay put though, people, as we get near the end here. Could be redirected into another Socialist channel. And whilst I'm thanking the members, just a final reminder that super thanks are open if you're watching back later. Super chats still open for the duration of the stream, and there's a buy me a coffee page in the description. Thanks again, Brew Crew, Brew Chat hosts, all 100 of you. Now, what you're saying, people, who's live? Bit of a slow net connection here tonight, which isn't helpful. Oh, we can help out with the friend of the channel and viewer. I believe. This space. Oh, I thought Lefty of the Box was live as well, who comes on streams as well. But we'll be going to this space. Crossing the States, for anybody who doesn't know the channel. So if you're not subscribed to this space, when we get over, hit subscribe, hit thumbs up, show some solidarity with our friends across the pond. That'll be it from me though. Your humble and slightly tired host, Lefty. Thanks a lot for sticking it out with us on the stream. Everybody, it's been great as always. All your responses and feedback in the chat, etc. More live streams to come before the week is out, so hit the notification bell and keep up to date with the latest on the channel. But for now, I shall say free Palestine, Yemen, Sudan and Lebanon. Power to the people. Take care, and my left eye will be seeing you soon. Good night.
A-R-A-I-D, on every machine.